My name's Kate Ward. I'm 39. I've been in the trust since I was 23. Whilst I was growing up as well, somebody in my immediate family became unwell with depression and needed to be admitted to hospital. I kind of had, an awareness of mental health difficulties, but I also had an admiration for those that helped others as well, and wanted to go down that route myself. And that's when I joined the trust. I'd seen an advert for a general office secretary. Alongside that I did volunteering work, working as a befriender for single parent families. I then joined the bank to get some further experience. Started to study the in-service OT course, and I've been qualified as an OT for 7 years now. So I currently work as a practice learning facilitator for associates, which is a role that sits within the practice learning and development team. It's quite a new role. It's to look at supporting the development of trainee nurse and associates and trainee associate practitioners. The practice learning and development team is very much about kind of supporting pre-registration students and supporting newly qualified staff when they come on preceptorship within the organisation. I used to think that leadership was about seniority, and leaders sat in management roles. I think being a leader is very much about creating a vision of something and empowering and motivating and influencing people to, get on board with that. My leadership journey, actually, I can think back to probably about 9 or 10 years or so ago now. Outside of work, I discovered that I had a particular type of breast implant that had been reported in the news as having, non-medical grade material, and there was lots of kind of anxiety around. And at the time I remember feeling really strongly about the fact that, there was a lot of negativity in the media about, the type of woman who, apparently opts to have cosmetic surgery, and it's, somebody who wants to get themselves in lads mags, and, it's all about the aesthetic. And I can remember feeling quite passionately against that, because for me personally it wasn't about that. It was about having, quite deep-rooted issues about body image, having recovered from, a mental illness. I had anorexia in my early 20s. Before I knew it, I became, a bit of a spokesperson for women who had PIP breast implants. I did a lot of TV work, radio work. I was kind of the go-to person to talk about this issue. And I can remember first being asked, why I'd elected to have the surgery in the first place, and that's when I first kind of started talking openly about my eating disorder. But it was relevant and it was needed. It helped some people look at things with a bit more compassion and empathy than what they would have done. I guess that's where I kind of started to step out of my comfort zone really, and tried to kind of influence people to have a different view. When I was working as a care coordinator in the community mental health teams, I, learned a little bit about sharing aspects of who I was. I've always been really, passionate about not just being seen as a health professional. I kind of still want to be seen as Kate, as the kind of person that I am, and sometimes it can be quite anxiety provoking, just kind of putting yourself out there like that in a way that you've maybe not done before. I think it really helps building trusting relationships with the people who you're going out to see, and the families as well. And it wasn't that I would go in and kind of volunteer all this secrets and this is who I am and but it was about if somebody wanted to know something about me, not having that barrier up, being able to kind of talk a little bit about who I am. I choose to share parts of my life outside of work, because I think as a leader, that makes you relatable to people. We can all kind of come together or find common ground, whether it's about family, about kids, about dogs. It just kind of helps build those relationships, and for people to see you as a person and not just an operational manager, or I just think it's nice. The Rainbow Alliance was kind of set up to create an open culture around the trust where people felt safe to come into services and be who they are as people. You know, it was important that those who were leading on that demonstrated those values. I can think about when I did the blog when we set up the Rainbow Alliance, and it was probably the first time really that I'd talked in such a way about how I identify with my own kind of sexuality. So my top tips for being authentic in leadership would be to share more about the person that you are. Try and be a bit more of who you are at work and not just about your role. Bear in mind that by giving more of yourself, you're building better relationships with people. I've held this misconception as well that, you know, as a leader, you know, you have to be confident and unshakable and, you know, have this kind of, you know, resilience all the time. And at times I felt, well, am I a leader? Because I'm not that. I'm not, you know, I don't have this strong sense of confidence. I doubt myself a lot. I can sit in a room and feel like I don't deserve to be in this room. You know, I'm around all these people who kind of I look up to and, you know, respect, and should I be here? And is it a fluke? I just kind of got lucky along the way. And then I remember like last year coming across something on Twitter, and it mentioned Impostor Syndrome, and I read it and I was like, oh my God, like it's a thing. Like people do doubt themselves. Somebody senior in the organisation kind of expressed an interest in a career aspiration that I had. They offered me a career conversation to talk about it. I brought Impostor Syndrome up. And I was like, yeah, you know, and I read about Impostor Syndrome, and I was like, oh God, that's so me. And she went, oh yeah, that's me as well. And I thought, that can't be you, like, you're amazing. You've been in positions that I can only like aspire to be in the future. Like for her to kind of share that with me, you know, that's just been huge for me. I feel that I can challenge that in myself now. You know, for one thing, I accept it. I'm a bit more compassionate with myself. If you're kind of passionate about wanting to change something and wanting to do better, you know, it's about the qualities that you have as a person, not the status or the role that you sit in.